Most people today, instead of apologizing and accepting their fault, tend to blame it on others because it shows a sign of weakness. This is true to an extent, but for the most part, you need to grow up and accept your faults, which leads me to my quote. Never apologize and never explain. It's a sign of weakness. I agree and somewhat agree with this quote. The reason I agree is because there are times when, like, say your friend or another person you know, like, they, instead of, like, say a situation happened where, I don't know, there was stealing or something, and instead of them, like, coming forth and telling that they did it, they blame it on you or something, and so you guys get mad and your friendship goes bad, and then in the end, like, they're expecting you to apologize and say sorry to them because maybe you stopped talking to them. So when it's really their fault and they're the ones that should be coming up and confessing and really apologizing, but they're not basically not big enough or man enough to come forward. And the reason I don't agree with it is because there are those times where people, you know, they lie or whatever, and they need to, the reason I don't agree with it, the reason I do agree with it is because there are some times where people do mess up or whatever, and they do it for a certain reason, because maybe they're covering for someone because that person did get in trouble, and then you're getting mad at them, but they're doing it out of, like, respect for that person. So I think that in those types of situations that you don't need to apologize, and that you don't have to really worry about it, because you're basically covering up for them, that way so that they don't get in trouble. And yeah, that's it.
All right, the opening section, it's pretty apparent that you've got something that you prepared and you wrote out, but once you get past that, it's just completely inconsistent. You are in a different direction with that, and you're having to read that opening section, which seems strange, because once you are done with it, you're not going to be reading anything more, so you need to talk to us. So I think it draws attention to the fact that you have particular language planned in the one spot, but you don't later on. I thought the transition to the quote, though, was pretty effective, and you set up a little bit about what you're going to say. There's kind of a structure that's going to go on there. I'm not sure that you're consistent in sticking with that structure, and your examples never really develop much character to them. There's just a quick reference to a couple of ideas here and there, and then you move on. On presentation, I think you need to project your voice a little bit more. It seems too low-key. There's not much variety in your voice. It all tends to stay in the same area range. And like I said, the pacing seems a little slow. Some anxiety issues. You got the knuckle cracking going on. You've got your hand in your pocket. You've got your fingers kind of balancing you on the table at one point. You're backed away as far away from the audience as you can get without running into the screen whenever you do that, and that seems a little bit awkward. There's not much variety in your facial expressions. You look up occasionally, but not consistently, and You know, it just seems sometimes when you look up that you're uncertain about where you're going instead of confident about where you're going, that you don't really know what you want to say and have a point of view. And when you get to the end of the speech, the conclusion tends to suggest the same sort of thing. So I think you need to work a little bit more at engaging the audience, focus a little bit less on getting that opening section exactly right, and think a little bit more about the examples, and then just talk to people. You seem to be like, I have to say something, I've got to get through this, and instead of relaxing and talking to us, you're worrying about keeping it all in the format of a speech, and it doesn't come across as well. That's, you know, you need to be a lot more natural in the presentation, and you looked uncomfortable for the most part while you were speaking. All right, thank you.